Hi, and welcome to the lesson plan on selling value. Not just selling value, positioning value, communicating your value, and reinforcing your value in the mind of your client so that they feel so excited about what you've given them that they can't wait to tell everybody else about the experience. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the experience that you're giving during every interaction with every potential client or every existing client that you're interacting with. So let's talk a little bit about this. Couple of questions. How do you define value? How are you communicating your value? Is the value you're offering value to the person you're offering it to? How do you know that? These are questions that we should be asking ourselves before we start talking to the person that we're going to be interacting with. You know, there's far too many people that come to me and say, Paul, I've got the perfect situation, great value, great opportunity, but people aren't buying from me. Well, my question is, how are you communicating your value, and how do you know what is of value to you, is of value to them? Let's answer those two questions first. Now let's talk a little bit about value. If you're selling value, then you're actually looking at being a resource to the person that you're interacting with. If you're selling on price, then you're just a commodity. And the problem with selling on price is the fact that even if you get a client that's brought on price, they're going to be a short-lived, unloyal client until the next person comes along and actually says, I've got a better price. That's why they're short-lived. That's why they're not a good client to get. But obviously it's your choice. Nobody really wins when you focus on price. Why do I say that? Because you obviously haven't won if you've lost the deal. The person who's actually won the deal with zero margin or very little profit, have they really won? Because at the end of the day, their ability to grow their business, their ability to service that client is actually not going to be something they're going to be able to accomplish long term. And what about the client? The client buys something and they've got a great price. What if there's after service that's required or additional elements that they need from the person they bought it from? That person's not around because they couldn't maintain a healthy margin to maintain a good business, then everybody has lost. So let's focus on value. The minute we focus on value, we attract a different audience. We attract more of a loyal client to our equation because they're looking at something else outside of just price. So when we start focusing on value, we're a resource to the person. That resource is someone that they start to recognize as a loyal partner that they start to recommend to other people because of the value that you're bringing them. So that's called partnership. So there's a couple of ways you can talk about value. One is intrinsic value and the other one is extrinsic value. So let's talk first of all about intrinsic value. So what is intrinsic value? Intrinsic value is the actual item that you're selling, the actual product itself. It's actually the item that actually helps them achieve the result, but it's the actual item. So that's your intrinsic value. You might have differentiation with regards to the particular item that you're selling, and that would be great, but if you don't, then there's really even more important to start focusing on the other element of value that we're about to talk about now. But this is where most people focus. Our intrinsic value is what I've come to buy. Obviously, as a professional salesperson, what someone has come to buy from you is one thing. You're reinforcing the results and the return they're going to get by owning what they've come to buy. It's that situation where someone goes into a store to buy a 1-inch drill, but what they really want is the hole and then the advantage of what they're going to get from that hole that they're actually going to utilize. And that's the intrinsic value, would be the drill piece itself. Now we're talking about extrinsic value. That's extrinsic value is the elements that are going to start to separate you from everybody else and give you the ability to outsell the competition. So what is extrinsic value? It's everything else you bring to the equation outside of your product. It's how you make people feel. It's an interaction they're having and the experience they're having that makes them go away and go like, wow, I feel really good about that situation, that experience. What we want to be doing is giving more in value than we're taking in payment. It might sound a bit stupid to some people. To the right people, it's not stupid. And I'm hoping you're the right people, the right person, the right individual. Because when you start talking about giving more in value than you take in payment, you're talking about this extrinsic value. You're talking about everything else you're giving outside of the product. That's why think about the last time you bought a product where you felt so good about that purchase that you couldn't wait to pay them. You must have had that situation, because I know I have, and it's because I felt I got so much value that I couldn't wait to pay because it was such a great experience. And it wasn't just because it got discounted, it was because of everything that I was getting for the price I was paying. Remember, value is the relative worth or desirability of a thing to the user. It's how much they feel it's worth to them. And your ability to create the experience and bring extrinsic elements to the equation outside of your product is going to give you the ability to win more sales. So start to think about what you could offer in terms of extrinsic value. What could you bring to the equation outside of your product that's going to make the experience an even better one for the person that you're interacting with? Now, in our world, when we talk about extrinsic value, we talk about there are 5 elements of the extrinsic value. First element of extrinsic value is going to be just excellence. Excellence at every single touch point. Your ability to reinforce every touch point that you're focused on excellence, to be able to reinforce excellence to your client so that they're aware that, like, this is a key element, a core competency of yours, is to provide excellent service. So reinforce the name of the person you're talking to, reinforce the follow through, the follow up. Everything is focused on providing an excellent experience for the person that you're interacting with. Just that one element, you think that everyone would focus on it, but there are so many times they don't. And you think about some of the times where you've gone into a situation, an interaction, and they've not really provided excellence. They're not focused on it. It's just they're going through the motions. So your just ability to focus on excellence is one key point, is part of your extrinsic value. Now you take excellence and you then add consistency to the equation, and you've got even more added value that you're bringing to the client and to the situation. People crave consistency. They want to know, is there congruency here? Is what this person's saying, is what you're saying as the salesperson, is it congruent with your company values and principles? Are you aligned? Are you consistent? Have you followed through? Have you said what you said you're going to do and then done it? And consistency is going to be another element. Just excellence and consistency, those 2 elements are going to start to separate you from everybody else. When you take the third element, which is attention, you really start to separate yourself from the rest of the pack. You start to really outsell the competition. Just not are you giving attention to the person you interact with, but are you paying attention? Giving attention is one thing, but are you paying attention too? You know, a lot of people don't like to sweat the small stuff, but when you're a client, you want to make sure that that salesperson is sweating the small stuff for you, that they're looking at the details and they're paying attention to all of the elements, because they've got your back. As the client, the salesperson has your back, and that's what they want to feel is coming from you, that you're paying attention, you're giving attention, and you're putting and focusing with their interests at the most important element of everything that you're doing in your interaction. So excellence, consistency, and obviously attention are 3 of the 5 extrinsic values that you're going to bring to the equation. The next one is empathy. That's number 4. So your ability to be empathetic is one thing, and not everybody can be empathetic. They hear a client, and the client might have a situation that is, not in their own, not in the salesperson's thought process, a realistic one. So they start to respond accordingly. I've seen it too many times when you get a salesperson responding, say, "Well, I don't really feel that's the situation because of X, Y, Z." Well, you may win the little conversation, but you've lost the sale. So what you want to do is, if you can't be empathetic because it's not in your nature for whatever reason, your upbringing or whatever, then just acknowledge their pain, acknowledge their situation, acknowledge what they're saying, and reinforce that, hey, I understand totally, let's look at what the options are that we can help to do and incorporate that's going to support the situation you're looking to accomplish. So empathy is the 4th key element. Your ability as a company to be empathetic in customer service is going to be a key element. And if people can't be empathetic, then just reinforce acknowledgement to diffuse the situation if it's a client interaction that isn't going so well. And the 5th element is appreciation. So your ability just to be appreciative of their situation is like, hey, I just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate the ability to be able to have the opportunity to be able to present the solution that we have for you today. And I really feel that this is the right solution for you, and it's going to give you all of the benefits that you are looking for, and the long-term elements are going to be X, Y, and Z too. Just your ability to just acknowledge and reinforce the appreciation of that element is going to be a key point that's going to separate you from everybody else. Setting a note card after the presentation, so they get something in the mail that reinforces a handwritten note card saying thank you for the ability to for this partnership, or thank you for the presentation, looking forward to the interaction in the future. That's going to be a touch point that reinforces your appreciation. People like to feel appreciated, or they like to feel like he appreciates or she appreciates my situation, or she appreciates my business. Just you saying that, thank you for the business, appreciation sincerely and authentically, is going to separate you from everybody else. It's going to give you the ability to, again, outsell the competition. So remember, selling value is all about reinforcing the experience to the person you're talking to, adding elements to the equation. If we go back to just attention, reinforcing to the client perhaps some elements that are outside of the product by saying, hey, this is a future trend that I've seen coming down the road that is linked to your industry. Are you familiar with this trend? Because I was thinking about how it might affect the situation that you're looking at now 4 or 5 years down the road. That's adding value when you're bringing something else outside of the equation, making the client aware of bigger picture issues, paying attention to their business and reinforcing, like, hey, you know what, there's another element that perhaps you hadn't considered that I think may be of interest to you based on X, Y, and Z that's going to affect your situation perhaps differently in the next few years. Let me share that with you and let me see if we both feel that that's something that could be a concern. That's adding value. All of these elements are incorporated into the experience that are going to give the ability of the actual client becoming your client, partnering with you and moving forward with you so that you outsell the competition and the partnership is solid. Good selling to you.